I should have known something was wrong when Chloe started humming at breakfast. My wife hadn't hummed in 3 years of marriage. Not since our honeymoon when she discovered our hotel room overlooked a construction site instead of the ocean. But there she was, buttering toast and humming some pop song, while scrolling through her phone with that secretive smile I'd grown to hate. "Big day tomorrow," I said, watching her over my coffee. Tomorrow was supposed to be our vow renewal ceremony, her idea, naturally. 5 years of wedded bliss, right, honey? She murmured, not looking up. Her manicured fingers danced across the screen. "Rick says the venue looks perfect. All the flowers arrived this morning." Her boss at Premier Events, the high-end wedding planning company where she'd been working for 2 years. Rick with his silver hair and expensive suits. Rick who drove a BMW and lived in a penthouse downtown. Rick who had somehow become the third person in our marriage without me noticing until it was too late. Wardy zing. "I'm Evan Mitchell, 35 years old, and I fix things for a living. Bridges, specifically. I'm a structural engineer for the city. I analyze stress points, calculate load-bearing capacities, and figure out why things fall down. It's honest work, blue-collar work, even if it requires a college degree." But apparently, it wasn't impressive enough for my wife anymore. "You know what's funny?" I said, setting down my mug. "I ran into your friend Tina yesterday at the grocery store. She seemed nervous when she saw me, kept fidgeting with her wedding ring." Chloe's humming stopped for just a second. "Tina's always nervous. You know how she is. She mentioned something about your bachelorette party last weekend. Said you girls really cut loose." I kept my voice casual, conversational. "Funny thing is, you told me it was just dinner and a movie." "It was." Her voice had that edge now, the one that meant I was treading on dangerous ground. "We had a few drinks after. No big deal." No big deal. Right. That's what she'd said when I found the credit card charges for expensive lingerie I'd never seen her wear. No big deal when she started working late 3 nights a week. No big deal when she stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. But I'd learned something important about stress analysis over the years. Sometimes the smallest crack can bring down the whole structure. You just have to know where to look. After Chloe left for work, I made a phone call to Danny Reeves, a guy I knew from my Army days who now ran a private investigation service. Danny specialized in what he called domestic verification services, a fancy way of saying he caught cheating spouses. "I need a favor," I told him when he picked up. "Tonight's the rehearsal dinner for my vow renewal. I want to know what my wife does after." "Evan, buddy, are you sure about this? Sometimes it's better not to know. I'm an engineer, Danny. I need data before I make decisions." 2 hours later, Danny called back. "I've got a guy who can work the catering staff tonight. Professional-grade equipment, completely legal. If something's happening, we'll get it on video." The rehearsal dinner was held at the Grandview Hotel downtown, the same place where we'd had our original wedding reception. Chloe had insisted on recreating everything exactly, down to the same flowers and the same menu. She looked beautiful in her blue dress, the one that brought out her eyes. For a moment, watching her laugh with our friends and family, I almost convinced myself I was wrong about everything. Then I saw Rick arrive. He wasn't supposed to be there. This was family and close friends only, maybe 30 people total. But there he was, tall and confident in his tailored suit, greeting Chloe with a kiss on the cheek that lasted just a little too long. "Evan!" Rick approached me with that politician's smile of his. "Congratulations, man. 5 years, that's really something these days." "Thanks." I shook his hand, noting how soft it was compared to mine. "I didn't realize you'd be joining us tonight," Chloe insisted. She said I was practically family after all the work we've done together. His eyes found hers across the room. "She's really something special, your wife. You're a lucky man." I know exactly how lucky I am. The dinner proceeded normally enough. Chloe's father gave a speech about the importance of commitment. My sister Sarah talked about how happy she was to see us renewing our vows. Everyone raised their glasses and toasted to 5 more years. I smiled and played my part, but I was watching how Chloe's phone buzzed constantly throughout dinner, watching how she excused herself to the bathroom 3 times, watching how Rick left exactly 5 minutes after her each time. After the dinner ended, I hugged Chloe goodbye in the hotel lobby. "I'll see you at the altar tomorrow," I said, kissing her forehead. "I love you." "Love you too." But she was already looking past me, toward Rick who was waiting by the elevators. I drove home alone and waited. At 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Danny's guy. "Package delivered. Check your email." The video file was crystal clear. High-definition footage of my wife in Rick's hotel room, doing things she hadn't done with me in over a year. The timestamp showed it was recorded less than 12 hours before our vow renewal ceremony. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and watched it twice. Then I copied the file to a USB drive and started planning. Some people might have cried, some might have gotten angry, but I'm an engineer, and engineers solve problems methodically. I had identified the stress fracture in my marriage. Now it was time to apply the right pressure to bring the whole thing down. The morning of our vow renewal dawned gray and drizzly, which seemed appropriate. I'd been up since 5 a.m., making final preparations. The video was loaded onto my laptop, connected to the hotel's AV system through a contact Danny had arranged. Everything was ready. Chloe emerged from the bedroom at 9, looking radiant in her white dress, the same one she'd worn to our original wedding, taken in slightly to accommodate the weight she'd lost during her recent fitness kick with Rick. "You're up early," she said, kissing my cheek. Her lips felt cold. "Couldn't sleep. Excited about today." I handed her a cup of coffee, made exactly the way she liked it. "Looking forward to celebrating our marriage in front of everyone who matters to us. It's going to be beautiful." She was checking her phone again. Rick texted, "Everything's set up perfectly at the venue." "I'm sure it is. He seems very thorough." We arrived at the Grandview Hotel separately. She had to coordinate with the vendors, she said. I found myself in the same ballroom where we'd had dinner the night before, now decorated with white roses and twinkling lights. About 60 people had gathered: family, friends, coworkers, even some of Rick's associates from premier events. My best man Adam was there, looking uncomfortable in his rented tux. We'd been friends since college, worked at the same engineering firm. He'd been acting strange lately, avoiding my calls, making excuses not to hang out. I'd assumed it was just awkwardness about my marriage problems, but now I wondered if there was more to it. "Big day, huh?" Adam said, adjusting his tie. "You sure about this renewal thing? I mean, if things aren't perfect, things are exactly as they should be," I replied. "Trust me on that." The ceremony was scheduled for 2 p.m., followed by cocktails and dinner. At 1:45, I approached the hotel's AV technician, actually Danny's guy in disguise. "Everything ready?" I asked quietly. "Just give me the signal. The file will play on all the screens in the room, plus the sound system. No way to stop it once it starts." Chloe looked stunning as she walked down the aisle to meet me at the altar. Her smile was perfect, her dress immaculate. Our families beamed from the front rows. Rick stood in the back, filming with his phone. The officiant began the ceremony with the same words he'd used 5 years ago. We exchanged the same vows, promised the same eternal devotion. When he asked if anyone had any reason why we shouldn't renew our commitment, the room was silent. "In that case," I said, stepping away from Chloe, "I'd like to share something special with everyone. A little video montage I put together about our marriage." Chloe's smile faltered slightly. "Evan, what are you doing?" "Just want everyone to see how much our relationship has grown." I nodded to the AV guy. "Roll it." The screens around the room flickered to life. For a moment there was confused murmuring as people tried to figure out what they were seeing. Then the audio kicked in, and Chloe's voice filled the room, breathy and urgent, calling out Rick's name. The silence that followed was deafening. 60 people staring at high-definition footage of my wife and her boss in various compromising positions, timestamp clearly visible, 11:52 p.m., less than 15 hours ago. Chloe's face went white, then red. "Evan, stop this. Turn it off." But there was no stopping it. The video ran for exactly 3 minutes and 47 seconds. I'd timed it carefully. Long enough to leave no doubt about what was happening. Short enough to avoid being gratuitously cruel. When it ended, the room erupted. "What the hell is this?" Chloe's father was on his feet, his face purple with rage. "This is transparency," I said calmly, removing my microphone. "I believe in honest communication in marriage." Rick had disappeared, slipped out the back exit the moment he realized what was happening. Smart man. Chloe's mother was crying. My sister Sarah looked shocked but not entirely surprised. Adam was staring at his shoes like they held the secrets of the universe. "You bastard!" Chloe lunged at me, but her father caught her arm. "How could you do this to me?" "I didn't do anything to you, Chloe. You did this to yourself." I looked around the room at the faces of our friends and family. I just thought everyone should know what they were celebrating. The hotel security arrived within minutes. Someone had called them when the shouting started. They escorted several people out, including Chloe's hysterical cousin, who kept screaming about lawsuits. The officiant packed up his equipment without a word. Chloe's father approached me as the room emptied. "This is how you handle your marital problems? By humiliating my daughter in public?" Your daughter humiliated herself. I just provided the documentation. Don't expect any more financial help from our family, he said coldly. You've made your choice. I never wanted your money anyway. As the last guests filed out, I found myself alone with Chloe in the empty ballroom. She sat in a chair at the head table, still in her wedding dress, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Why? She whispered. Why like this? Because this is what you chose, I said. You chose to lie to me for months. You chose to sleep with your boss 12 hours before our vow renewal. You chose to make a fool of me in front of everyone who matters to us. It wasn't supposed to happen. It just did. Nothing just happens, Chloe. People make choices. You made yours, and now I've made mine. I left her there and walked out of the hotel into the gray afternoon. My phone was already buzzing with calls and texts. Some supportive, some angry, most just curious. The video would be all over social media within hours. Chloe's reputation in our social circle was finished. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. The next morning, I woke up in my sister Sarah's guest room. I'd spent the night there after Chloe changed the locks on our apartment. Not that I'd expected anything different. My phone showed 43 missed calls and over 100 text messages. Word travels fast in a city like Boston, especially when it involves public humiliation and infidelity. You've really done it now, Sarah said, handing me coffee. She was 2 years older than me, a nurse at Massachusetts General, and had never particularly liked Chloe. The video's everywhere. Someone posted it on Facebook, and it's been shared over 300 times. Good. Let everyone see what kind of person she really is. Evan, I know you're hurt, but this seems extreme. Couldn't you have just divorced her quietly? Quiet doesn't teach lessons, Sarah. Quiet lets people think they can get away with anything. I drove to work Monday morning, expecting awkwardness. Instead, I found something unexpected: respect. My coworkers had seen the video too, and most of them seemed to think I'd handled it exactly right. Takes balls to do what you did, said Mike Torres from the surveying department. Most guys would have just rolled over and taken it. Even my boss, Jim Crawford, seemed impressed. Hell of a thing, Mitchell. Can't say I disagree with your methods, but Adam was different. He avoided eye contact during the morning meeting and disappeared at lunch. When I finally cornered him by the coffee machine, he looked like he wanted to crawl under a rock. We need to talk, I said. Look, Evan, I'm sorry about what happened. I had no idea Chloe was… Cut the crap, Adam. You knew. The question is, how long have you known? He stared into his coffee cup. A few months. I saw them together at Brennan's bar one night. I wanted to tell you, but what? But Rick said it would be better if you didn't know. Said it would just hurt you unnecessarily, Rick said. Interesting. You discussed my marriage with Rick Chambers? He approached me after he saw me at the bar. Said Chloe had told him about our friendship. He asked me not to say anything to you. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. What else did Rick ask you to do? Adam's face went pale. Nothing, just nothing. But I could see the lie in his eyes. There was more to this story, and I was going to find out what it was. That afternoon, I drove to Premier Events. The office was in a converted warehouse in the trendy part of town, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. I'd been there once before. For a company Christmas party, Chloe had insisted I attend. The receptionist recognized me immediately, probably from the video that was still circulating online. I'm sorry, Mr. Mitchell, but Mr. Chambers isn't available. That's okay. I'll wait. I settled into one of the expensive leather chairs in the lobby and pulled out my phone. Within 10 minutes, Rick appeared, looking harried and disheveled. His usual polish was gone, replaced by the haunted look of a man whose world was crumbling. What do you want? He asked. Just to talk, man to man. We have nothing to discuss. I think we do. See, I've been wondering about something. How did you know I wouldn't be at the hotel Saturday night? How did you know it was safe to take my wife to your room? His jaw tightened. I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm asking directly. Did someone tell you I'd gone home? Someone who might have been keeping tabs on me? You're paranoid. Maybe. But I'm also thorough. You see, Rick, I've spent the last 2 days thinking about this whole situation. And something doesn't add up. Chloe's not the type to take risks. She's careful, methodical. She wouldn't have gone to your room unless she was absolutely certain she wouldn't get caught. Rick said nothing, but I could see sweat beading on his forehead. So, either she's gotten very stupid in the last few months, or someone was feeding her information. Someone who knew my habits, my schedule, My routines. You need to leave. In a minute. First, I want you to know that I'm going to find out the truth. About you, about Chloe, about whoever's been helping you. And when I do, what happened at the hotel is going to look like a friendly conversation. I stood up and straightened my jacket. Have a good day, Rick. What's left of it. As I walked out, I heard him on the phone behind me, his voice urgent and worried. He was calling someone, warning them. That was fine, let him panic. Panicked people make mistakes, and I was counting on that. That evening, I returned to my apartment. Chloe had left, taking most of her clothes and personal items. She'd also left a note. Evan, I know you hate me right now, and I don't blame you. What I did was wrong, and I'm sorry. But what you did was cruel and vindictive. We both made mistakes. Can't we try to work this out like adults? See. I crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash. Adults don't sleep with their boss 12 hours before renewing their wedding vows. Adults don't conspire with their lover to deceive their spouse. And adults certainly don't ask for forgiveness after getting caught red-handed. My phone rang. It was Danny. Saw the video online, he said. Nice work, very professional. Thanks. I need another favor. Name it. I want to know everything about Rick Chambers. Financial records, phone records, business dealings, everything. That's going to take some time, and it won't be cheap. I don't care about the cost. And Danny, I also want you to look into Adam Walsh. He works at my company. Your best man? The guy from your wedding? Former best man. I think he's been feeding information to Rick. I want to know for sure. Consider it done. I hung up and poured myself a drink. Outside, the city lights twinkled in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Chloe was probably crying into her pillow, and Rick was probably trying to figure out how to salvage his reputation. But I wasn't done with either of them yet. Not by a long shot. Danny called me 3 days later with information that made my blood boil. Rick Chambers wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He'd been systematically undermining my career for the past 6 months. Your boy Adam has been feeding him inside information about your projects, Danny explained over coffee at a diner downtown. Specifically, that bridge renovation proposal you've been working on. The one worth $2 million in city contracts. I gripped my coffee cup so hard I thought it might shatter. What kind of information? Technical specifications, timeline estimates, budget projections. Everything Rick would need to submit a competing bid through his connections in the construction industry. Son of a bitch. It gets worse. Rick's been using that information to make himself look good to city officials. He's got a side business consulting on municipal projects, and he's been presenting your work as his own analysis. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. No wonder my proposals had been getting rejected lately. No wonder Rick always seemed to know exactly what the city wanted before I did. He had access to my work through Adam, and he'd been using it to build his own reputation while sabotaging mine. There's more, Danny continued. Phone records show regular calls between Adam and Rick, going back 8 months. Usually right after your department meetings. 8 months? That was around the time Chloe had started working late, around the time she'd begun her affair with Rick. They planned this whole thing. Looks that way. Rick seduces your wife, turns your best friend into a spy, and uses both relationships to destroy your career and steal your work. I sat back in the booth, processing the magnitude of the betrayal. It wasn't just infidelity. It was a coordinated attack on every aspect of my life. What do you want to do about it? Danny asked. I want to destroy them, all of them. Legally, I hope. Of course legally, but thoroughly. The first step was dealing with Adam. I waited until the next morning's department meeting, then asked him to stay after everyone else had left. I know about the phone calls, I said simply. Adam's face went white. What phone calls? The ones to Rick Chambers, 8 months worth of them. The ones where you gave him details about my bridge project. He slumped in his chair like a deflated balloon. Evan, I can explain how you sold out your best friend for what? Money? Did Rick pay you? It wasn't like that, he said. He said he was trying to help Chloe. Said she was worried about your career, about your financial future. He convinced me that sharing information would help you both. And you believed that? I wanted to believe it. Chloe seemed so unhappy, and Rick said he could help get you better projects if he understood what you were working on. I stared at him across the conference table. We'd been friends for 12 years. We'd been each other's best men. We'd spent countless evenings drinking beer and complaining about work. You're fired, I said. You can't fire me. You're not my boss. No, but Jim Crawford is, and he's going to be very interested in hearing about your industrial espionage activities. Adam's face crumpled. Please, Evan. I've got a mortgage, car payments. Sarah's pregnant. We can't afford for me to lose this job. You should have thought about that before you betrayed me. I walked out and went straight to Jim's office. Within an hour, Adam was cleaning out his desk under security escort. Word spread quickly through the office. Nobody likes a spy, especially one who sells out his friends. Next was Rick. I couldn't get him fired. He was his own boss, but I could make his life very uncomfortable. I started with his wife. Linda Chambers was a pediatric surgeon at Boston Children's Hospital, well-respected and completely unaware of her husband's extracurricular activities. I sent her copies of the hotel video, along with a detailed timeline of Rick's affair with Chloe. Then I contacted the city's ethics board. Using Rick's consulting work to gain unfair advantage in municipal contracts was a clear conflict of interest, possibly illegal. I provided them with phone records, email evidence, and detailed documentation of how he'd used stolen information. I also reached out to Rick's other clients. Premier Events had a reputation for discretion and professionalism, qualities that don't mesh well with public sex scandals and ethics violations. Several high-profile clients canceled their contracts within days, but the most satisfying revenge came from an unexpected source: social media. The hotel video had gone viral in our local area, but it was Chloe who made it go national. In a moment of spectacular poor judgment, she posted a long Facebook rant about vindictive ex-husbands and invasion of privacy. She painted herself as the victim, claiming I'd violated her trust and humiliated her unfairly. The internet's response was swift and merciless. Comments poured in from around the country, most of them pointing out that cheating on your husband 12 hours before your vow renewal ceremony wasn't exactly a privacy issue. Someone created a meme using a screenshot from the video with the caption, "When you renew your vows, but not with your husband." Chloe's social media accounts were flooded with messages ranging from criticism to outright mockery. She deleted the original post, then her entire Facebook account, but screenshots had already been shared thousands of times. Rick tried to control the damage by issuing a statement through his lawyer, claiming the video was obtained illegally and threatening lawsuits. That backfired spectacularly when a local news station picked up the story and ran a segment about wedding renewal gone wrong. Within 2 weeks, both Rick and Chloe had become local celebrities for all the wrong reasons. Rick's consulting business collapsed, his wife filed for divorce, and his reputation in the events industry was destroyed. Chloe lost her job when Premier Events closed its doors, unable to survive the scandal. I, on the other hand, was thriving. The city awarded me the bridge renovation contract after Rick's competing bid was disqualified due to the ethics investigation. My coworkers treated me like a hero for exposing Adam's betrayal. I even got a raise, but the best part was yet to come. 3 weeks after the vow renewal disaster, Chloe showed up at my apartment. I'd moved back in after she'd been evicted for non-payment of rent. Apparently, Rick had been helping with her expenses, and that support had dried up along with his business. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, her eyes red from crying. The confident, polished woman I'd married was gone, replaced by someone desperate and broken. "Can I come in?" she asked. "Depends. Are you wearing a wire?" "Don't be ridiculous." I let her in but left the door open. I'd learned not to trust her, even in her current state. "I need help," she said, sitting on the edge of the couch like she might bolt at any moment. "I lost my job. I can't find another one. Everyone in the industry knows what happened. I'm staying on my friend Kelly's couch, but that's temporary." "Sounds like a personal problem." "Evan, please. I know I hurt you. I know I made terrible mistakes, but we were married for 5 years. That has to count for something." I studied her face, looking for signs of genuine remorse. What I saw instead was calculation. She wasn't sorry. She was desperate. "There's a difference. What exactly are you asking for?" "Just some help getting back on my feet. Maybe you could talk to people. Tell them I'm not the person they think I am." "But you are exactly the person they think you are. You're an adulteress who betrayed her husband with her boss." Her mask slipped for a moment, revealing a flash of anger. "You didn't have to destroy my entire life over one mistake." "One mistake? Chloe, you had an affair for months. You conspired with Rick to undermine my career. You manipulated my best friend into betraying me. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern of deliberate deception." I never meant for any of this to happen. You meant for all of it to happen. You just didn't mean to get caught." She started crying then, big theatrical sobs that might have moved me once upon a time. Now they just annoyed me. "Please," she whispered. "I'll do anything. I'll sign whatever papers you want, give you whatever you need for the divorce. Just help me." "Anything," she nodded eagerly. Then I want you to call Rick, right now. Tell him you want to see him. What? Why? Because I'm not done with him yet. She stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Evan, Rick won't even take my calls anymore. His lawyer sent me a cease and desist letter, telling me to stay away from him. Then this should be interesting. I handed her my phone. Call him. Tell him you have information about me that he needs to hear. Tell him you know how to get revenge for what I did to both of you. What information? Make something up. You're good at lying. For a moment, I thought she might refuse. Then desperation won out over pride, and she dialed Rick's number. Rick? It's Chloe. No, don't hang up. I have something you need to hear. It's about Evan. I know how he got that video, and I know how to make him pay for what he did to us, tonight. My old apartment building, the one on Commonwealth. There's a storage unit in the basement because I have proof he hired someone to illegally record us. We can destroy him. She hung up and looked at me with something approaching hope. He'll be there at 9 tonight. Perfect. What are you planning? Justice. That evening, I arrived at Chloe's old building an hour early. The basement storage area was exactly as I remembered. A maze of wire cages and concrete corridors, poorly lit and rarely visited, perfect for what I had in mind. I'd spent the afternoon preparing. Danny had helped me set up recording equipment in 3 different locations, all completely legal since the storage area was common property. I'd also arranged for a few witnesses to be nearby when the time came. Chloe arrived first, looking nervous and confused. Evan, what's this really about? You'll see. Rick showed up exactly at 9, accompanied by a large man I didn't recognize, probably hired muscle, in case this was some kind of trap, which of course it was. What's this about, Chloe? Rick demanded. You said you had information about Mitchell. She lied, I said, stepping out from behind a storage unit. But then, you're both used to that by now. Rick's face darkened. What the hell is this? This is a conversation, the 3 of us, finally being honest with each other. I'm leaving. Rick turned toward the exit, but I'd positioned myself between him and the stairs. No, I don't think so. See, I've learned some interesting things about you, Rick. About your business practices, your ethics violations, your systematic theft of my work. I think it's time we discussed it. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. You used Adam to spy on me, stole my project proposals, and used them to build your own consulting business, all while sleeping with my wife. Rick's hired muscle stepped forward, but I held up a hand. I wouldn't do that if I were you. This entire conversation is being recorded, and there are witnesses upstairs. Anything that happens down here will be very well documented. You're bluffing. Am I? Danny, you can come out now. Danny emerged from behind another storage unit, along with 2 other men I recognized as off-duty police officers he sometimes worked with. Everything's being recorded, Danny confirmed. Video and audio, multiple angles. Rick's face went pale. This is entrapment. This is justice. You see, Rick, you made a mistake. You thought you were smarter than everyone else, thought you could manipulate and deceive without consequences. But here's the thing about consequences. They have a way of catching up with you. I pulled out a folder and handed it to him. Copies of phone records showing your conspiracy with Adam, documentation of your theft of city contract information, evidence of your ethics violations, and testimony from your wife about your pattern of infidelity. Rick flipped through the papers, his confidence crumbling with each page. The city's ethics board meets tomorrow morning, I continued. They'll be very interested in this information. So will the state attorney general's office. Theft of municipal contract information is a felony. What do you want? I want you to confess. Right here, right now, on camera. I want you to admit what you did to me, to my marriage, to my career. I want you to take responsibility for your actions. And if I don't, then tomorrow morning, this evidence goes to every prosecutor, every news outlet, and every potential client you might ever want to work with again. Your choice. Rick looked at Chloe, who was staring at the floor. He looked at his hired muscle, who was eyeing the police officers nervously. Finally, he looked back at me. You son of a bitch. Is that a confession or an insult? For a long moment, the basement was silent, except for the hum of the building's ventilation system. Then Rick's shoulders sagged in defeat. Fine. Yes, I used Adam Walsh to get information about your projects. Yes, I used that information to compete against you for city contracts. And yes, I had an affair with your wife. Why? Because I could. Because you were just some nobody engineer, and I was successful and connected. Because I wanted what you had, and I thought I was smart enough to take it without getting caught. And now? Rick looked around the basement, taking in the cameras, the witnesses, the evidence of his complete defeat. Now I'm fucked. Yes, I agreed. You are.